Hello guys, it's dark, it's the middle of the night, I'm in a car park, you can probably hear it's raining outside, but I've come to BMW headquarters in Farnborough to collect a car. That's very exciting. Behind me there are some very special BMWs, so I'm going to give you a look around those before I move on to the car that I'll be taking away with me this evening. So two very cool number plates on these BMWs here, one BMW and two BMW. This is the 7 Series and the X7. This 7 Series 760 Li, it's a V12. And that is the definition of a barge. I absolutely love those. Moving over here, we've got E34 M5 and E36 M3 CSL from BMW's heritage fleet. The new Mini GP3, love that car, hope to have a go in one of those one day. M3 GTS in the iconic orange colour. E30 M3, pair of M240i race cars, they're pretty wicked. And then the new M2 CS, a pair of them here. You can see if you look closely, gold BBS wheels, and there you go, it's got the vent in the bonnet, which the standard M2 does not have. They look really, really aggressive. Then if I move quickly down here, I'm going to fast forward a second for you. So after a short walk, we've got to this blue BMW, and this is actually the first one of these I've ever seen in the flesh. It's the new BMW 4 Series. This is a 420D, and it's pretty controversial, this car. You can probably guess why. Taking a look at those front grills, it's caused a little bit of a stir when BMW released this. What do you think of that? I think it's yet to grow on me. It's pretty wicked though. I can imagine in this, in a kind of M form, it's going to be an absolute monster. Here we've got the Mini E. I love the plug design that they've done on the wheels to show the fact that this car is electric. Obviously it plugs in, but none of these cars are what I'm here for. Let's go take a look further down here at the car that I'll be collecting. So guys, I mentioned I'm at BMW. I've got the key in my hand. It is not a BMW key, it is a Mini key. Of course, BMW also own Mini, and I've come to collect a Mini Clubman John Cooper Works, which is the car right here in front of me. Hello guys, so today I'm going to be reviewing the 2020 Mini Clubman JCW, the John Cooper Works, which is sat right beside me. This car is about £35,000. It's got a 2-litre, 4-cylinder, twin turbocharged engine with an all-wheel drive system. Basically shares the same platform as the BMW M135i, which you all know is a highly praised car. So this car's actually got something like 302 horsepower. 8-speed automatic gearbox. This makes it a key competitor with the Golf R, and more importantly the Golf R Estate, which is actually a similar price point as well. So how do they compare? That is the question. I'm going to show you around this car, I'm going to jump in it, I'm going to let you know which I would prefer, because of course I used to own a Mark 7 Golf R, so I can make a very good comparison between the two of these cars. So now it's time to jump in this car, get on some good roads, and let you know just how good the Clubman JCW is. So when on the road around town, as I am now in the Clubman JCW, my initial impression was that it's quite firm. Same goes for the seats, they're also quite firm. But as it is the John Cooper Works, it's set up to be a sportier variant naturally than the standard Clubman and the Clubman S. However, the car doesn't feel too big through traffic, around parked cars, going around tight corners. It feels quite nimble. Nowhere near as much, I'd imagine, as the 3-door Mini Cooper. One thing I have noticed is that the turning circle is not fantastic, but it is quite a long car. So when I first collected the car, I wasn't actually that impressed with the exhaust note, to be honest with you. But the example that I'm in is pretty much a brand new car, and I actually believe over the near 1,000 miles I've done in it, the exhaust note has evolved, maybe as the car's been run in or whatever. And now it does burble and pop a little bit around town, and then when you open it up, it's a lot more satisfying. The other thing that you might be able to pick up on the camera is that rear visibility. Because of the Clubman being a 6-door, which I think is almost unique to this car, especially for a modern car, there is a big black bar up the already quite narrow window to see out the back, which means your visibility is hindered somewhat. That's where a car might be behind you, where a police car might be behind you, where a person might be behind you, and you just can't see that. So it does take a little bit of getting used to, especially in the dark. you might be interested to know, if I quickly flick through the menus available on the infotainment, that over 1,000 miles, which is a couple of big motorway journeys to Wales and back, and then thrashing it around Wales, keeping up with the likes of my Audi R8 and a few other very sporty cars, which it did absolutely no problem whatsoever. This car has managed to average 30 mpg over that time, which is very impressive, and I can only imagine if you're commuting rather than thrashing it around Wales day to day and only taking it for the occasional blast at the weekends, that obviously you do even better than that. So that is quite impressive, given that this car has over 300 horsepower and it is not the lightest car in the world. Hopefully you can see in front of me we've got a head-up display, and that is a kind of tinted piece of perspex which flips up into your field of view when you turn the car on. It doesn't obscure the field of view at all, but it is a little bit less premium than more expensive models such as Mercedes S-Class, which will just show the readout on the windscreen. However, it is a £500 option, and I've not tried the car's in-car navigation, mainly because I prefer to use Apple CarPlay with Waze.
Average speed check zone ahead.
There we go. And I imagine instructions do come up on there for the car's in-car navigation if you were to use it. But without using the car's in-car navigation, all it really tells me is the speed I'm doing and the speed limit at the time. And to be honest, it's not always right about what the speed limit is. I think it reads the road signs, and sometimes it can get confused, which can be quite off-putting when you're on the motorway and it thinks the speed limit's 30. So as I come up to this junction, the one thing I notice is the brakes are quite spongy. You really have to slam hard on the anchors to get the car to slow down when you need it to. I showed you that the brakes are enormous, so I don't think there's a problem there. Perhaps it's a characteristic of the car and takes some getting used to, or maybe again because it's quite a new car, they still need to be bedded in properly. So I mentioned that around town this car wasn't the smoothest experience, and even more so when you put it in sport mode. But where does it start to make sense? It's when you get to the narrow, twisty roads, obviously in a safe manner, and you really get to open it up through the turns. You can start to hear now that engine. Obviously it's a 4-cylinder 2 litre, it's only ever going to sound so good, but it does sound pretty tasty. Obviously you've got to be sensible, there's only so much you can do, especially in the UK. On around the bend, you can feel that all-wheel drive just keeping you on the road. You wouldn't know the car is as big as it is when you're throwing it around the corners, to be honest. It does make so much more sense out here than in the centre of London. Is you can do that sensibly, of course, without even breaking the speed limit, because 300 horsepower is a lot different to the way cars are getting now with 800, 900 horsepower, which is just completely unusable on the road. Whereas in a hot hatch, you can be on the limit, so to speak, without actually endangering yourself or anyone else, which is fantastic. So another feature of this mini JCW Clubman is the parking assist, and this function actually parks the car for you. And it's not a function on a car that I've ever really trusted in the past. I've always thought there's lots that could go wrong then, and then whose fault is it if the car crashes itself? But we're in a nice open area, there's a potential parking space on the left, so I'm going to drive past and see what the car thinks. So I'm on the high street, I'm driving slowly down the high street, imagine, and I've spotted a parking space, but will the car fit in the parking space? It's quite a long car, so it's difficult to know. I'm going to pull alongside the parking space slowly, let the car know that I'm looking to park, drive past the parking space. It's now notified me that there is space available to park. Tap on the P. To park, turn on turn signal, fair enough. Reverse gear, hands off the wheel, no hands, and brake manually. So I have to do the braking, the car is doing everything else. It's driving towards this Volvo at the moment, which is quite unnerving. But no hands whatsoever. We're going into space, it's now turning the other way. It's straightening up. And there we go, just like that. The car has parked. I probably could have done that myself, but it's nice to know, first of all, that there's enough space to do it, and secondly, that the car can do it, which is pretty impressive. So I'm around the back now of the Mini Clubman JCW, and I'm going to show you one of the car's key characteristics, and that is the twin tailgate. But before I open it up, let's take a look at the badging. Clubman, that's a 7-letter word, which unfortunately does not divide by 2 very easily. So on the left hand side we've got 4 letters, on the right hand side we've got 3 letters, and I could see that would annoy some people. Nonetheless, let's open it up. The right hand side opens first, like that, and the left hand side afterwards. I could see in a strong wind you might be at risk of a child maybe getting hit in the face with these doors. Again, I'm not sure how necessary they are, but is it what sets it apart from the cars in the market? Perhaps. Once you get to the boot, it's actually not that big. It's got 360 litres of boot space, which is about the same as a Golf R hatchback, never mind the estate. And as I mentioned earlier, the Golf R estate is a competitor to this car. So I think that's 605 litres of boot space in the Golf R estate, which is almost double what you get in the Clubman JCW. So given that this is an estate car, you'd hope there'd be enough room to fit an entire family. I'm sitting in the back, and do you know what? It's not actually as bad as I thought it would be. There's quite a lot of room for me here. 5 people on board, it might be a little bit tight, but if I shut myself in, I think it'll be okay. So inside the cabin, there are 1 or 2 things that I do not like. The gear selector. It's counterintuitive to me to press the button on the right hand side to change gear. I want to press something around the back perhaps, but it takes a little bit of getting used to have to do that to change from reverse, neutral, drive, etc. So the car has Apple CarPlay, as you'd expect from most modern cars. Noticeably, it's wireless Apple CarPlay, so obviously you can still plug your phone in, but if you want the Apple CarPlay to work, you've got to connect it via Bluetooth, and that can be a little bit of a pain to configure. Especially, you know, what if there's something wrong with the Bluetooth on your phone, or it just won't do it for whatever reason? I'd like to know why I can't also still just plug it in to use Apple CarPlay. Yes, wireless is great, but I'd like to be able to do both. The other thing to notice is, look at Waze on the Apple CarPlay. It's all the way over to the left, and there's a big useless gap on the right. You can put other things there, like MPG, or there's an option to turn off split screen. You think, great, turn off split screen. That'll put Waze on the whole screen. It doesn't do it, which is a shame. So it's a little bit out of date. I think this is from the previous BMW generation, but the resolution on that screen is actually very nice, and it's very glossy. It's a weird shape, it's a weird size. I prefer the one in my Golf at the moment. It's bigger than that, fills up the screen nicer, but Apple CarPlay, so you can't really go wrong with that. So down here we've got an array of switches, including this red illuminated start switch, which is quite cool. I've also got the same up here for the light switches. I'm not a massive fan of that design, but it is quite satisfying just to press that down and hear the engine roar into life. Hopefully you hear a little pop and crackle then, which is quite nice. Quite characteristic of the JCW from previous generations. Another feature is the wireless charging pad, which is a great idea. I really love things like that. However, open it up, it's under the armrest, which is another great idea. It means the phone is out of sight and you will not be tempted to be distracted by it whilst driving. That's fantastic. I like that as a safety feature. However, there's a big issue here. I'm going to take my phone out, okay? Just an iPhone. It's about 1.5 years old. I'm going to put it in the wireless charging pad, and it does not fit. This is a normal iPhone, and it will not fit in the charging pad, which I find absolutely ridiculous. There's plenty of space there to have made it 1/2 inch longer, and I just cannot fit my iPhone in it. What's the point? I find that really, really strange. There we go, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. This is the Mini Clubman JCW. So what is my verdict? having spent quite a long time with the Mark 7 Golf R, which I mentioned is a similar price point, similar power, all-wheel drive system, fantastic gearbox in the Mark 7, which would I take home? For me, the Golf takes it just. The practicality of a Golf is unbeatable. It's an animal when you want it to be, and it's a cruiser when you want it to be. This is very similar. I think what this has in its favour is, first of all, you'll see far fewer of these on the road than the Golf R. Golf Rs are 10 a penny, and this is a head turner. I can't believe it. When I drive through town, when I'm on the motorway, people stare at this car. I think it's the unique styling. It makes a good noise. People want to know more about it. It's fantastic. So it depends what you want to go for. If you want a wolf in sheep's clothing, it's the Golf R. If you want something that's going to turn heads and still put a smile on your face, the Mini is the car for you.